Welcome to the e-commerce podcast. My name is Matt Edmundson, and it is great to be with you today, chatting about all things e-commerce. That's what we're doing. How do we do e-commerce? How do we do this whole online thing? How do we get our stores to be bigger, better, and more awesome than they are today? That's the big question. And to help me do that, I'm speaking with Aman Amandeep Singh, all the way from California. Which at the time of recording, he's in a very sunny climate and I'm in quite a dark climate, just with time zone differences. We're going to be chatting about e-commerce and what he's learned over the last few years. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to this conversation. A very warm welcome to you if this is your first time with us here on the e-commerce podcast. I'm just always amazed at the stats. We're getting new listeners every week. If I'm honest with you, it strokes my ego slightly that more and more people are listening to the show. I'm not going to lie. I do enjoy looking at the numbers going, yeah, it's obviously working. Yeah, it's fine, right? People are obviously listening. It's great that we get new folks along as well. And part of me is also amazed that actually people want to come and listen to me talk about e-commerce. But that's another story. It's great that you're here. A very warm welcome to you. Make sure you do all that like and subscribe and all that sort of good stuff to stay connected with what's going on. If you head over to the website, if you've not seen it already, ecommercepodcast.net, you can sign up to the newsletter, and every week we will send you all the links, notes, and everything from the show straight to your inbox, all for free. So make sure you get that as well. And of course, if you're an avid listener to the podcast, thanks for coming back. And for those who have reached out to me recently on LinkedIn and through Instagram, genuinely love it. And even email. I've had so many people reach out to me the last couple of weeks, which has been great, from all over the world, including Australia, the Philippines, the States, the UK. I mean, everywhere around the world. So it's been great to connect with some new people. If you'd like to, find me on social media at Matt Edmundson. Connect with me on LinkedIn or social media. Would love to connect with you. Just let me know what you're doing. Send me a link to your store. I would love to see it. Anyway, shall we talk to today's guest? I think we should. Amandeep Singh from Cronix, which I think is quite an interesting name. I'm going to ask you in a minute, Aman, about the name of your company, which is a full-service e-commerce agency. You yourself has been involved in e-commerce for 13 years. And as we were talking before we hit the record button, if anyone's looking at this on YouTube and wondering what that is behind you, that is in fact a cricket jersey. Yeah. And for our American cousins, cricket is a sport that we play. Basically in England, India, Pakistan, Australia. The Kiwis like to play it as well, don't they? There's a few countries left that like to play cricket, and we all like to think we're pretty good at it, except for I'm British, and I just occasionally we do well. Well, yeah. That's about it. But Aman, welcome to the show, man. Great to have you here. Thanks for joining me. How are we doing? You look, it's very sunny looking where you are.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, so I'm in Northern California here. The weather is pretty good. It's not hot, not cold, so it's pretty chill weather over there. And so my wife gifted me this, by the way, this jersey. India team. I love cricket. And this time the World Cup was happening in the US. It's US and West Indies, so it was quite a bit of a craze in the India versus Pakistan match. And I also saw the US team basically beaten Pakistan, and they qualified for the Super 8. So that was a big deal. Like a US cricket team also qualified for the World Cup, and then they reached to the Super 8 over there. So that was interesting. Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, I have to be honest, I don't really follow cricket that much.
Yeah.
I do watch the World Cup every now and again. And ironically, I live opposite a cricket field.
Mm-hmm.
So I can stand at the front of my house and I look out and there's a cricket field in front of me, an old cricket club. It's been there hundreds of years, which is a beautiful thing in the middle of a city. It means no one can build on it. It's part of the reason why I got the house. No one's going to build a house in front of my house.
That's nice.
Yeah, but I watch cricket and go and see the neighbours over there and sit down. We enjoy a glass of wine watching. I still don't really know what's going on, to be fair. Yeah. What I do know is there is a bit of a rivalry between India and Pakistan.
Pretty strong rivalry, yeah. Like Ashes in England versus the UK, right? Australia, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, the English, Liverpool, Manchester United, if you go to football or soccer, big rivalry there. But yeah, India, Pakistan, always a big rivalry. And Sadaf, who is the producer of this show, who you have met, is from Pakistan via Canada and now lives in Liverpool. I mean, talk about international. And the only time I ever really hear her talk about sport is when Pakistan and India are playing in the cricket, which is just really quite funny. So,
Yeah.
And I've met her brother, who's also a big cricket fan as well. So, yeah. Do you play?
Yeah. I mean, well, not professionally, but just for the entertainment kind of thing. But here, it's not like too many people out there with whom I can play. But yeah, I used to play a lot. I used to play football and cricket. Yeah. Fantastic. And in the US we call it soccer. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, but they're just wrong, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to often criticize my American cousins. I've lived in the States for a while myself. But there are a few things I think, they've got wrong. And it's not soccer, it is football. We do play it with our feet. I just want to point that out. And so I've just offended half the listeners. They're all like, it's rubbish. Terribly sorry, do come back. But let's talk about e-commerce, maybe. Let's get to safer grounds where I don't offend anybody. You were saying before we hit the record button that you were in an agency for a while and more recently you've sort of taken the plunge and you've setting up, that's not even a word. You've set up Cronix, your own agency. What made you take the plunge? But why? I mean, why?
Yeah, I think there were a few different reasons. Like I was working at the previous company for around 11 years, so it was a long time. Starting a company from scratch over there, 13 people, and then growing the department to around 300 people over there. But yeah, I was managing around 100 people. I was so busy, wasn't getting time to learn anything new, and I feel like I come from a development background, so there's always feeling that man, you're gonna get behind if you're not keeping yourself up to date, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea was to basically start something on my own where I can have better control on my time and can basically learn more platforms, new technologies, and experiment few things, and it will be on my own risk. I am not really putting anyone else at risk or anyone else's job or anything in risk. So that was kind of the idea that just to get a bit of a time for myself. And I also believe in education a lot. So I apart from Cronix, I basically do 2 batches of developers every year where I train them on development, programming, and web standards, and all the stuff. So that's also is very close to my heart. Like I'm trying to work with the universities and at the colleges close to my areas to see how we can empower those the college students and have them a bit more practical knowledge as well. So yeah, so just a bit more freedom. Yeah,
I love this. I'm listening to you talk, and I know we're not talking here about setting up a business, but I'm intrigued by something you said. You sort of left the agency because you wanted to be more in control of your time, and I'm thinking, yeah, but when you start up a business, the last thing you have is control of your time, right? I mean,
yeah.
So I'm curious, how did you find it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's maybe more decision making was also the reason as well, because for example, there was always some kind of in a developer's mind, like you always want to go to some kind of a product development, plugin development, things like that. But there are so many boundaries over there. Like you have to figure out, okay, what's the current structure looks like and everything, and then on our side, now my side, I can put the money, risk it, whether it works or not. It is my own money, right? So it's that kind of decision making. But yeah, now in the previous agency there was some kind of time tracking. You have to be there for all the stuff. But now I have better control. Okay, well, if I need to take a vacation for something, I can do it. I don't need to take a permission from someone, right? So yeah, that was a few of the things kind of stuff. But yeah. Decision making, and the time control kind of stuff is definitely helpful. Yeah,
I get the decision making. I do. I'm being slightly facetious. Having run my own business for a very long time, I don't even know how long. I've lost count. But I am very aware that I have deluded myself into the belief that I have the power to make all the decisions, and that's why I keep going. But yeah, it's very, very funny. So let's talk about e-commerce. And I mean, you've been around for a while, and I was browsing your website earlier, and we were talking about this before we hit the record button. You're connected and partners with quite a few of the big platforms, so BigCommerce, Shopify. and so on and so forth. And one of the questions we get asked a lot, and I'm really keen to ask you this question, Aman, because I think you'll probably have some really interesting insight into it. Which e-commerce platform should I use? Now, I've hesitated to ask previous guests this question because normally when we have them on, they'll be like a Shopify partner, or do you know what I mean? They'll have nailed their colors to a specific mass, so they're going to answer that question in an obvious way. Whereas you seem to be a bit more ambidextrous, I suppose is one way to describe it. So I'm kind of curious, how would you help somebody who is starting out in e-commerce and they're going, what's the best platform to start with?
Yeah, I think, so I started my journey very older platforms like, OS Commerce, Xcards, and Card Open Card, and all the stuff. And now, of course, Magento and WooCommerce. And then slowly the shift happened toward SaaS e-commerce platform, right? Like people don't want to bother about, these hosting, the security, the upgrades and everything. So I think the original, the SaaS e-commerce platform really took over kind of thing. So there is not a one answer I can give it, what e-commerce platform is best kind of stuff. I think it's depending upon the use case. But what I have in the past, let's say 2-3 years ago, but now every e-commerce platform is kind of growing quite a bit. But if someone is looking for quick e-commerce site, not looking for agencies' help, okay, they just want to get started, launch the website with a nicer design, nicer themes, like a fashion clothing brand, and don't have too much complex requirements. Shopify is a good platform to go with. It's just Shopify, BigCommerce. But yeah, if you want to do some drag and drop, Shopify customizer is pretty good. There's pretty good community as well. So that's but if you are looking for a bit more like a B2B side of things, Shopify has also done the B2B as well now, but it is expensive, $2,500 per month or something like that. So yeah, probably then, if you're looking for a cheaper version of the B2B, where then like a low cost, but will give you good enough starting B2B functionality, then go with the BigCommerce, in a pro advanced plan, you will get a pretty good BigCommerce, features, which will give you, filters by default, which will give you customer groups and everything. So you will be and BigCommerce promotion engine is pretty good. So that is a good starting point if you in a very early age B2B and B2C in a single site. And then if you're looking for an advanced B2B, then you can go with the BigCommerce B2B edition, which is not that expensive either. And you will have much more B2B functionality, like company management, hierarchy and everything. Yeah, BigCommerce just there was a big summit. I was also at the big summit as well, recent conference by BigCommerce. They're launching pretty cool things on the B2B side of things. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so, I heard that. I heard that. It's an interesting one. Again, I thank you for your answer, and I appreciate the sort of the different breakdown there. We were. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before or not. Forgive me if I have, dear listener. I just never remember who I've told what story to, if I'm honest with you. We wanted to, this year, launch a new skincare brand. Okay, so we had a beauty business. We sold it. That was a few years ago. We've got this idea for a beauty brand now. It's been long enough since we sold it where I can get back involved in the beauty business. And I'm like, right, let's do this product. And I said to the team, we're having conversations about it. Yeah. Let's go get a website. And so the default in our head was, and I didn't really think about it, which is, shame on me, given what I actually know and what I do for a living. Yeah. We're like, let's just go to Shopify because it's going to be fairly straightforward and easy. And I said, there's an agency here in Liverpool, very good friends of mine, called them up. Do you fancy doing me mates rates? And they're like, sure, man. So I didn't even have to do any of the design work. Guy called Tony Richardson there, just legend of a guy. Called him up. Tony said, oh, so yeah, it's not a problem. And so we very cheaply, we're going to get this Shopify site. And then he messaged Jen, who was heading up the project, and he said, Shopify aren't going to let you sell the products that you've got to sell. So, which I was a bit taken back by, because there are products similar being sold on Shopify sites. Obviously, Shopify are going, no, you can't sell this on our website. And then when you looked into Stripe a little bit, they were like, oh, no, you can't sell that on this website. There's obviously some beauty products and supplement products which they have issue with. But I can, I wax lyrical about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But that really struck me as quite interesting, that Shopify are now going down this road of...
Yeah, I think any SaaS platform, basically that's the difference, like a SaaS platform and self-hosted platform, right? Like, or a commerce shopware where you can host and, WooCommerce, Magento and everything. So where you get the full freedom to do whatever you want to do it, right? And when you're in SaaS platform, you are bound to their, terms and conditions, right? So there was an instance where, Shopify decided like, they won't allow CBD products kind of stuff. And then people migrated to BigCommerce because BigCommerce, allowed that time kind of stuff, and they still allow it. So yeah, some of the high risk brands who, shop it. The reason is I believe Shopify cannot allow it because of Shopify payments, like the payment processing.
Yeah.
So they don't process the high risk, they don't really allow the high risk product kind of thing over there. So Shopify payments, either you have to go with something different payment provider. So that's why I think it's in those kind of scenarios, if you feel like you have to go with some other payment provider, it just recently, I was working with almost pretty expensive deal, and they needed custom payment integration. Shopify was not the answer for them, right? I was working with a $1 billion client earlier, and they had something as well with the shop. They needed some kind of custom payment integration. We were working with the Shopify's team and everything, but they were reluctant to do kind of checkout customization at that point of a time. So yeah, I think when you want a bit more flexibility, freedom, for sure, you have platforms like Shopware or eCommerce for B2B. You have Magento as well. You have WooCommerce as well. So it's a choice. What kind of industry you are in, what kind of features you're looking for, and then decide the platform accordingly. I don't go with whenever I'm coding any project, I make sure that I do provide them, at least two choices and pros and cons of each choices. Okay, well, and then go from there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And so the big ones to think about, if you're thinking about starting an e-commerce business, the platforms to look at. You've mentioned Shopify, you've mentioned BigCommerce, you've mentioned WooCommerce, which is part of the WordPress platform.
Yeah.
You've mentioned Magento, which I probably wouldn't look at if you were starting.
Yeah.
In fact, all disrespect to Magento, I don't know if I would actually look at Magento at all ever again. But that's just me. Bad experiences. We actually have our own bespoke platform, which again I don't think you need if you're starting. A business. What do you think? I'm curious if you've ever played around with things like Squarespace or Wix. A lot of these sort of website builders now that offer some sort of basic functionality.
Yeah, Squarespace. I haven't worked too much, in the well, I have worked the Squarespace as a as a CMS kind of thing, as an alternative to WordPress. Wix, I have used Wix eCommerce. I think it's some of the migrations we are doing from Wix to Shopify or BigCommerce or Shopline kind of thing. So some of the challenges which we came across with the Wix was some of the apps which are available with the true e-commerce platforms like BigCommerce and Shopify or Shopline or things like that. They were not available on Wix, or they were not even supporting Wix quite a bit, and then people had some kind of issues on that sort of a thing. And I think the URL structure wasn't very well, but that you can fix it if you do very well, nicely develop your website. But yeah, I think when it comes to the true e-commerce platform, if you're an e-commerce business, you're looking for a bit more e-commerce functionality, then I would probably prefer to go with the actual e-commerce platform where CMS take a secondary role.
Yeah.
But then, the things are also coming up as well. Now, e-commerce platforms are also investing a lot in a, CMS side of things as well. Shopify released Meta Objects as well. They are doing, Utopia and everything as well. Their customizer is pretty powerful now. And BigCommerce is also releasing, Make Swift as well, things like that. So yeah, I think if someone just want to test the idea, Wix is not a bad solution. Kind of think there's only one product they're selling, that's fine. But if there's someone that has a catalog of 110,000 products or something,
good luck maybe look for Wix.
Yeah. Don't go with the Wix then, Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they're an interesting place to experiment. I don't think you want to be there long term, and I don't think you want to be there if you're selling more than a handful of products. or even if you really want to give options on the products and stuff like that. But I think Shopify still seems to be king, doesn't it? And it sort of still seems to be wearing that crown.
For small to medium, I would say but for enterprises, like when they get into you need a custom shipping, you need a custom tax, integration, you need a custom payment and all the stuff. Then you need to look into that kind of stuff, or you have very complex product options, or pricing rules or discounts rule kind of stuff. That's where you need to then start looking a bit broader aspect of it. I don't want people to just say, Shopify is this one-stop solution for everything. It is not, So
it's definitely got its issues.
Definitely.
Tell me about a little bit about Shopline, almost the new kid on the block. That I've not actually played around with myself.
Well, Shopline, basically, surprisingly, it's getting pretty popular in the UK. Actually,
it is. It's taking off.
Shop in the UK, it is getting pretty popular, and we are working with some of the UK agencies and brands actually as well directly. Where we're developing some of these sites on there. Shopline is very similar to Shopify in general. If you are familiar with the Shopify, you can definitely work in Shopline as well. The framework they're using is kind of a handlebars, which is stencil, which BigCommerce uses handlebars as well. So it's kind of similar to that as well. So the entry to the development is not difficult either. So it's kind of the internal layout, the backend is very similar to Shopify. The programming is kind of a handlebars, which is a JS framework, so that's not a difficult either to learn. And I think the only aspect here, what they have done here a little bit different is that they have developed a kind of modular approach. They are, let's say you want a B2B sort of thing, you are going with the B2B app, or you are looking for a bit more discounting. So they have done so many separate small little module that you can plug and play kind of stuff to add additional functionality to the native platform itself. So you're not going with a third-party JavaScript, JS, Ajax request, and all the stuff. So that has a little bit of pros and cons as well. It is native, but then it also you have to install an app, basically native apps. But they are spending a lot of into I think a video e-commerce kind of thing, which is pretty interesting. They have a deeper integration with the TikTok. They have an integration with the TikTok as well. So they're spending a lot on the video commerce.
Yeah, they are, and they seem to be sponsoring a fair few things, and they're definitely appearing more and more on my feed. And I'm kind of curious about. I should probably just set up a site with them actually and have a little bit of a play. And to see what's going on. I mean, would you rate them? Are they any good? I mean, obviously you're a partner with them, but are they any good?
Yeah, I mean, we launched 4 sites for the Shopline, so they're pretty good. They migrated from Shopify to Shopline, which is pretty interesting. They think they have better rates as compared to Shopify, I guess. You have to go with that to be competitive, I guess. Otherwise you will not survive. But they were pretty flexible. So we had to integrate some kind of a custom payment integration within the Shopline checkout. They worked pretty closely with us, and we were able to do it. So it wasn't as closed as Shopify. So if you will, check any Shopline website, it will look very similar to Shopify. But they did allow us to customize the checkout, which is pretty interesting.
Very good. Well, we're going to have a little play. I wonder if they'll let me sell my beauty products. We should find out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I guess they will do. Yeah.
I'll just give them a ring. Say, don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
And they'll go, no, I've no idea, Matt. No, fair play. Well, that's really fascinating. You're sort of talking about all of these things. What I have noticed about your site, though, Aman, is that you only are partnered with one email provider, which is Klaviyo.
Yeah.
So you do all the different e-commerce platforms, but I'm just doing Klaviyo.
We have. I think we need to probably update our website, but we work with the Klaviyo, Mailchimp, Omnisend, and we also work with the Zoho email campaigns as well. So it's just we probably need to update it. Those are not very currently. So we are very as I'm a developer, right? So I come from a development background. So we were very like a developer focused company in the beginning, but now we are trying to go into like a bit more digital marketing as well. So we are trying to partner with the Klaviyo, Omnichannel, some other solutions as well to grow our digital marketing department as well.
Very good. Very good. Well, no, thank you for that. I'm kind of curious. You've obviously been playing around with different platforms. Thank you for your insight. What are some of the trends that you're seeing at the moment in e-commerce? What are some of the things which are coming up time and time again with all your clients?
Yeah, I would say now, I think that the search is pretty critical happening with the B2B especially as well. So not only the B2C, which is but everyone has a pretty nice search over there usually, but for the B2B, you also need to probably modernize your tech stack over there. So I think make sure your search is pretty good.
Do you mean on-site search or
on a site search? Yeah, on-site search. So that's some of the critical functionality which I can think of. The Omnichannel is another one which is, I guess, everyone wants to be everywhere. It's not everyone wants to be everywhere, but everyone probably needs to be everywhere, or or multiple places at least, to be selling kind of stuff. So there is another aspect. Earlier, what was happening is a lot of e-commerce sites were ignoring content, I guess, or e-commerce platforms were ignoring content side of things, which Shopify for a long period of time, probably still to some extent, didn't invest too much on a blog side of things, right? And similar to BigCommerce as well, so many platforms, even Shopline, they didn't have a very sophisticated blog publishing tools. So people, adopted like very different ways to handle it, either Pagefly, Shogun, or things like that, which are like a JS focused tools, and of course, it works for sure, but I think now I am seeing a bit of a shift by either these platforms or some of the extension or some of the new things that are coming up, which is A+ content pages and the blog pages, or like better landing pages, using what you call, let's say Pack Digital, using Makeswift by BigCommerce, or BigCommerce just recently acquired Makeswift as well. So which is pretty interesting. So now you are basically able to create a bit more like A+ content pages on your product, a better landing page product, and then you can also do better blog pages as well, which are kind of essential for your what do you call it, your SEO and everything as well. So yeah, that's, I think, is another shift I'm seeing. Then another aspect could be the chatbots, like getting more and more smarter as well nowadays. So that's one, and personalization is a good one as well. But now everyone, not everyone, but a lot of times people are saying like AI personalization, this and that. I mean, recommendation engine has been there for forever. It's just a bit more.
And it's not actually AI, is it? But tomato.
There have been recommendation engine forever. Data learning has been there forever.
Let's just throw the word AI in front of it and it'll start selling. That's what I've noticed a lot of companies doing. Now we've got this tech, no one bought it. Let's just put the word AI in. Everyone's buying it now. It's a beautiful thing. Let's go, if I can, let's go over some of those. Let's go back to the content one. You mentioned A+ content. Now, I, having had both the pleasure and misfortune of trying to sell products on Amazon, fully understand what you mean when you use the word A+ content. So let's explain for those that may be new to e-commerce or may never have sold on Amazon, may never have heard this phrase, what A+ content is.
Yeah, I would say in general, a lot of time you will notice that the product pages, whenever you visit an e-commerce site, it's very thin content. Thin content meaning just the photos of the product, the pricing, and a small little description, really, which doesn't really add any value. Okay, doesn't explain the benefits of the product, doesn't explain the use cases of the product, kind of stuff, or doesn't provide any kind of comparison, things like that. So I think especially at least for your best-selling products, you should invest some time to make those product pages, a bit more, the content should be a bit more self-explanatory. which will reduce your customer queries as well, which will make a decision making quickly as well for the people who are basically visiting the product page kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, have a nice product photos over there. If you have you have the videos, add a videos as well, explain the use cases, explain the benefits as well, because sometimes people cannot think about how this product can be used as well, in all different use cases. So try to do that. And in a Amazon, you will probably, I mean, everyone probably see that there's a photos with the, what do you call, say, some, I don't know how to call it, like they have some kind of watermarks or explaining the use cases and the product gallery as well. So you can add something like that as well. So yeah, just and also adding FAQ is very helpful as well, which will then get indexed in what do you call it, in the search engine, which will be helpful. Having a photo reviews, that could be as well. So yeah, I mean, basically provide a bit more information on the product. Just not, I mean, if you're a brand like a Nike or something, even they provide a pretty nice information these days. They're not looking for just a 2-3 sentence short copy and that's it. They are adding a bit more a nicer layout, nicer information over there, so that people can make a good decision as well. So
yeah, that's it's a really interesting point, isn't it? And I think one of the things that I saw, I don't see it as much these days. I used to see a lot of people who would buy, I don't know, a widget from a company over here, and they would sell the widget on their website. But 10,000 other people are selling that same widget on their website, and they copy and paste the images from the manufacturer. They copy and paste the text, and the text is sparse because the manufacturer goes, it's a widget. They don't care about selling it to the end customer. They just care about selling it to you. And so it was all a bit bland, all a bit beige, all a bit sort of boring, really. And I remember when we had the beauty website, one of the things that we intentionally did was we took our own photographs, we wrote our own copy, our own sales copy about that product. We would expand on things, would add things in there, we'd be a bit playful. Do you know what I mean? There's all those kind of things that we brought into it. And so conversely, I think our conversion rate went up as a result. Amazon started a few years ago doing A+ content where they had their traditional page, with the bits and bobs of information on there. But then if you wanted to, you could upgrade whatever your subscription with them was, or whatever your deal was with Amazon, to A+ content, like you say, where you can start adding FAQs. I can start adding better images. I can start adding comparison charts. And the more education, the more information we seem to give people on the product page, the more conversions seem to go up.
Yeah, I think you explained it pretty nicely.
Thank you. So what I find interesting here is your comments then about A+ content, better landing pages. So if you're bringing someone in from an ad, you don't necessarily have to send them to your product page. You can send them to a landing page specifically connected to that ad. Again, it all increases conversion. That Shopify, as good as they have been, and so on and so forth, have been a bit slow in some respects in giving you the ability and the flexibility to create these pages. And that is now coming. That's what I find interesting, is it sort of seems to have taken a little bit of time to catch up.
Yeah, I think, now after releasing the meta fields and meta objects, earlier people used to use meta fields as apps and everything, but now it's a native within the dashboard over there. So that's a bit more easier to add a bit more content, like additional content. And the meta object, it also basically helps quite a bit. Let's say you have a size chart, kind of stuff, and you have 5,000 products, but you just have 5 different types of products, and 5 size chart will gonna be applied to all those different 5,000 products. So now you create one size chart type over there in the meta object and just assign it to relevant products. So now you have one-to-many relationship, right, via meta objects. So that means if you are making some changes, it will be reflected across all those relevant products over there. So that's pretty good, I guess. So I think the meta objects, meta fields are a pretty good addition in Shopify.
That's great. Now, one of the ways that you can do this, dear listener, one of the things that I was playing, a friend of mine, he was launching a website. What was the product he was putting on there? He asked me what I thought it was, but airsoft, these sort of BB gun type things. And he was asking me what I thought. And I was a bit like, the product copy is just a bit boring, isn't it? And so I'm like, so all I did was we just went over to ChatGPT, and said, listen, take this product copy, rewrite it. But I
Yeah.
want you to write it to men in their early 20s who think they're James Bond. And this was the language that I used. And I want you to be a bit playful.
Yeah.
But I want you to talk to them as though they are James Bond. And do you know what I mean? And rewrite it as such. And it came up with some wonderful idea. I mean, it still needed a bit of editing.
Yeah.
But you could see instantly the transformational change. Do you know what I mean? Just in terms of, well, let's just play around with this a little bit. Because the assumption was actually anybody that's doing airsoft probably wants to be James Bond, especially if they're British, right? And so, so let's pretend they are. And I think it was such a wonderful exercise. And actually, we just did it on the fly on Zoom together. And he went away and rewrote his product copy. Yeah. So if you want to do good product copy, just and sort of have a bit of fun with it. Think about who your target audience is.
Yeah, that's pretty good point. Yeah, that's pretty good point. I know. Like I think the Chat GPT, these AI tools gives you a good blueprint kind of framework to write, and then gives you a bit more ideas than you can write the way that you want to write as well. But yeah, I think it's a good suggestion for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, do that. Just please make your product copy interesting. And so let's talk about the omnichannel thing that you mentioned, because for years omnichannel just meant, well, I'm going to sell it online and I'm going to sell it in my shop.
yeah.
But I think it means a little bit more than that now. I mean, so what are you seeing as some of the key channels people need to think about exploiting?
Yeah, I think I'm seeing for sure. Earlier people used to be like, okay, whether they're online, either online store, and then they will be going with Amazon. But I'm seeing more and more trend. Like people are going with the Etsy, people are going with the Target, people are going to Walmart. So yeah. I mean, especially for B2C kind of stuff, that's kind of happening. Also the affiliate networks as well, that you are basically publishing your product feed. So and also the TikTok shop, the social media channel as well, the Instagram shop, TikTok shop kind of thing. Surprisingly, I mean, the TikTok shop, I don't think so. When the Instagram shop went live, some of the brands that I worked with, I didn't see too much traction on Instagram. In terms of purchase and all the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, Instagram did a ads and did a brand awareness, and you probably got benefited from the purchase over there, but not in a Instagram shop.
Mm-hmm.
But in a TikTok, people are buying within TikTok. I see more trend over there that people are actually buying within TikTok, and then of course you have to fulfill and everything. So that's a bit surprising that how maybe people are a bit more confident now in buying social commerce kind of stuff. But yeah, so yeah, if you're a fashion brand, I mean not a fashion, like any brand which consumer friendly brand which you feel like could be a good source over there. So yeah, I think TikTok is a pretty good channel to sell as well. Hopefully US won't ban it. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You're not the first person to mention TikTok shop.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I mean, we're just about to launch another product on TikTok shop, and it's some products, like everything, they're easy to get set up on TikTok. Some products not so much. And I would agree. I think it's an interesting platform. I do, like you, have questions over whether the US will actually ban TikTok. I think that would be a really interesting play if they did. How they would enforce that, I have no idea. But I think it'll be a really interesting play. But that, the US is what, 30% of my market. So there's still 70% out there that I can sell to using TikTok, right? So I'm kind of curious to see how that one works. So like you say, the obvious ones, Amazon, TikTok. It's interesting what you say about Instagram shop, because social commerce is one of those things that I think about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I remember having a conversation going, I do not understand why Facebook does not have the ability to buy whatever it is that I'm seeing on the Facebook platform, and they just take a small percentage of the sale. I don't understand why they're not doing that. And it's taken longer, I think, than I thought it would do for social commerce to start to become more of a thing. But it is becoming more of a thing, isn't it? And I'm curious if TikTok is more popular because it tends to be a younger audience who are a bit more digitally savvy, whereas Instagram is a bit more, sort of the millennials. And the millennials are good, but they're not as It's not like the Gen Xers where we're just like, what? I'm a Gen X. But millennials are a bit more reticent maybe, whereas the Gen Yers, what they call them now, Gen Alpha. I don't even know. I've lost track.
It's hard to keep track of.
I just people younger than me, which is a lot of people, to be fair. So I think the younger they are, the more confident they seem to be about doing purchases on social platforms.
Yeah, I think what I believe is, social platform gives you an opportunity to connect with the founders, connect with the, the people behind the company, and people are emotionally attached with the brands. There's a lot of moments that are happening as well, like, buy a local, buy this and that, So that's another aspect where, you get to hear the story, and then you are making a decision right away sometimes, whether it's informed or impulse or whatever it is. But that gives you a quick way to buy or make a decision right away. So I think people are emotionally connecting with the companies or brands who are a bit more authentic, kind of thing. And yeah, they're buying things over there. And with the videos, I think it's TikTok, how it's basically exploded, and I think it basically but basically attracted that audience quite a bit. Which are making those decisions pretty quickly. I think people are the younger generation is very impatient as well.
That's very true. And I think TikTok did that rather clever thing. When you first join the platform and you post a video, they'll show it to 10,000 people and you kind of think, oh, I got 10,000 views. I've never had that on Instagram. And they'll do that once or twice, by which time you're sucked in, right? And it's just really clever how hats off to the TikTok guys. So we have talked about different platforms to think about. We've talked about different things to think about, from search, omnichannel, the content, smarter chatbots on there. I think actually we're more and more willing to talk to chatbots now, aren't we? We think they've got the answers most of the time because we think they're smarter. And obviously personalization, we've talked a lot about that actually on the show. Is there anything else that you think we should throw into this mix of conversation?
No, I think, basically one thing which I would like to point it out is that, migrations are, like, when you're migrating from one platform to another, I see a lot of time those going wrong. So if you're able to maintain the same URLs, try to maintain the same URLs, but if your URL structure is pretty bad on your previous platform, then of course go with the newer platforms, newer URL structure, but make sure you do have a nicer redirects. You have the content and the data migrated. Sometimes what happens, a lot of times people just migrate the product descriptions, but they don't migrate the meta description. They don't migrate the title tags and everything. So make sure you do migrate that as well. Another aspect is that a lot of times people forget the internal links, replacement. So let's say you launched the website, you migrated all the data, you also added the redirect strategy as well, like, old to new URLs. But now some of the content, let's say you have a 200 blog post, you had 1,000 of product pages, and in the product content itself, there are some links which are pointing to the older URLs. So you need to make sure that those are also replaced. It could be a post-launch thing, that's fine, but recommended to go with that replacement as well. So I definitely suggest that whenever you're migrating it, make sure you take care of these points as well. And a new thing which is happening, which is coming up in a speculation API. So performance is a very big factor these days. So Google has especially for Google Chrome browsers, you have a speculation API released, which I see that, WordPress and all these plugins, they definitely take an advantage of those things. But I have not seen that happening in e-commerce. And I recently implemented on one of the websites on Shopify, and it was like a very fast. It will give you an experience like a single page application. Like,
right.
It will. I mean, you have to be mindful like how you're implementing it. But if you implemented it, it will definitely improve your performance a lot.
Fantastic.
So speculation API implemented wherever you can possible.
Speculation API. Get onto it. Do it now. What's wrong with you? Why? That's brilliant. Listen, Aman, fascinating conversation. I'm aware of time, and I should probably think about bringing this to a close at some point. So why don't I do this? Why don't I ask you for a question for me? This is where I ask all of my guests now for a question. I then take that question and will answer it on my social media channels, all in a ploy, dear listener, to get you to join me on social media if you've not spotted it.
Yeah.
Just total transparency. So anyway, Aman, over to you. What's your question?
I have two questions probably. One thing, what kind of books recommendation that you have currently? What kind of books are you reading currently? Could be a fiction, non-fiction. That's one aspect. The other one, I think Omnichannel is getting pretty bigger these days. So, what is your point of view on Omnichannel strategies? I would love to know more about that as well.
Very good. So, if you want to know what books I'm reading at the moment, if you want to know my thoughts on Omnichannel, come follow me on social media and find out. You'll find me on the old IG at Matt Edmundson. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Matt Edmundson. I think I'm on X, but I rarely post on X at Matt Edmundson. But yeah, come find me on either Instagram or LinkedIn. I'll put the information on there. It'd be great to see you. When you connect with me, just send me a DM. Just drop me a note. Just go, hey, hi, how you doing? And I will respond. Oh man, listen, man, it's been great. It's been such a good conversation. If people want to know more about you, if they want to connect, find out more about Cronix, maybe want some help with you from you, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or they can also reach out to cronixweb.com. So I'm pretty much available a lot on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, shoot me a DM over there. Reached out to our website as well. Yeah, happy to help any way I can.
Fantastic. LinkedIn seems to have become becoming more and more of a thing, isn't it? It's just
I'm not sure how they're doing too much with the video reels. I don't want video reels everywhere, but it is becoming it too much as well.
To be fair, LinkedIn, I never look down the feed. I just don't. Because I'm connected to 12,000 people. There's no chance I'm going to connect. Just read the feed. So I tend to use LinkedIn for messaging. People reach out.
That's nice.
We put loads of stuff out on LinkedIn. And then I'm in one of, a few WhatsApp groups where the guys go, listen, this is what I've posted. Could someone please go and comment? And so I'm in some of those groups. So I'm a bit more targeted and focused on the LinkedIn
That's
stuff.
nice. That's nice. Pretty good.
But yeah, it works super well. It just means that it's very manageable. But it's I get the whole LinkedIn thing. So we will, of course, link to Aman's information in the show notes, which you can get for free by heading to the website ecommercepodcast.net. Or, of course, you can just scroll down or sideswipe, depending on which app you're using, to see the show notes on this particular episode. The links will be in there. Do reach out to Aman, even if it's just to say hello. Just go connect with him on LinkedIn and say, how's it? Heard you on the podcast. Great to connect. I'm sure he would love to hear from you. But Aman, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate it. It's been a fab conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Well, there you go. What another great conversation. Love that. Learned a lot, actually. Also, be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcast from, because we've got yet more great conversations lined up. And I, of course, do not want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, let me be the first. You are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Aman has to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Now, the e-commerce podcast is produced by the wonderful team at PodJunction. You can find out more about them at podjunction.com. In fact, if you have a podcast yourself, check out the PodJunction website. I am on it with the wonderful Selef, and we talk about how to use podcasting to grow your business. Just a little side swipe there, a little side promo to some of the other stuff that we're doing. But do come and check it out. Big thanks to Salaf and the team. Big thanks to Josh Edmundson for writing our theme music. And as I said, if you'd like to read the notes or the transcript, you can get them at ecommercepodcast.net for free, where incidentally, you can also sign up to the newsletter should you require it. And why would you not? We just basically send everything to you once a week to your inbox. You don't even have to do anything. So you can go sign up for that. But that's it from me. That's it from Aman. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are in the world. I will see you next time. Have a fantastic week. Bye for now.